It's late again. The kind of late where the world is quiet except for the hum of my tiny apartment's heater and the soft tapping of my fingers on the keyboard. I'm sitting at my desk, staring at a spreadsheet full of numbers that barely add up. Rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, phone bill, they all stack up like an impossible tower I'm trying to keep from toppling over. Every month feels like a battle I'm barely winning, and some days, like today, it feels like I'm losing. I'm 27, working a job that pays just enough to keep the lights on but not enough to breathe freely. I used to think I'd have a little more control by now, maybe a savings cushion, a plan to travel, a home of my own someday. But the truth is, the economy has been relentless. Prices climb faster than my paycheck ever will, and I'm stuck watching my money shrink the moment it hits my account. It's not just math, it's a trap. Everyday decisions have become exercises in stress management. Should I cook at home or grab something quick? Cooking is cheaper but takes time I don't always have after a long shift. Do I pay for the subway or risk walking miles to save the fare? Do I skip the gym membership again this month because I need the cash for something more urgent? These aren't just choices, they're compromises that pile on, day after day, chipping away at my sense of normal. I remember when I was a kid, I'd dream about my future with such bright hope. I pictured weekends in cozy cafes, spontaneous road trips, maybe even a little garden on the balcony. Now, those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful but unreachable. Sometimes I think about the things I've already given up, the idea of going back to school, taking a vacation, even just replacing my worn-out shoes. It's hard to admit, but these sacrifices don't always feel like choices. They feel like necessities in a system that isn't built for people like me to thrive. The pressure isn't just financial. It's emotional. I carry a weight I can't put down. There's a constant hum of anxiety in the background, the worry about whether I can pay rent next month, if my car will break down, if a sudden medical bill will push me over the edge. Nights like this, I feel isolated, like I'm the only one who understands what it's like to be stuck in this endless loop. But I'm not. I see it in friends who quietly say no to plans, in family who avoid talking about money, in the endless news stories about rising costs and stagnant wages. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm failing or if the system is just broken. I do my best. I work hard. I'm careful with every dollar. But it never seems to be enough. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. No matter how fast I move, the finish line stays just out of reach. Coping is a daily struggle too. I try to find small moments of relief, a walk in the park, a good book borrowed from the library, a phone call with a friend. But those moments can feel fragile. They don't erase the pressure, they just pause it. I've started writing in this journal as a way to give voice to the frustration and fear. Sometimes, putting it into words helps me feel less trapped, even if only for a little while. Hope is still there, though. Maybe that's the hardest part, balancing the reality of my situation with the flicker of something better. I dream of financial freedom, yes, but also of dignity, respect, and the ability to plan without panic. I want to believe that someday, I'll look back on this time and see it as a chapter, not my whole story. For now, I keep going, one paycheck, one choice, one day at a time. The struggle is real, and it's exhausting, but giving up isn't an option. Because beyond the numbers and the stress, there's still me, someone who deserves a chance to breathe, to dream, and to live fully. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to hold on to. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I never imagined my 20s would feel like a constant battle against numbers, numbers on bills, numbers in my bank account, numbers that never quite add up. Every morning, I wake up to the weight of that invisible math pressing down on me, reminding me that I'm caught in a system where expenses grow faster than my income, and I'm just running in place, gasping for air. It's hard to put into words the exhaustion that comes with living paycheck to paycheck. Not because my job isn't steady, I work full-time, and I'm grateful for that, but because no matter how hard I try, the cost of living outpaces the small raises I get. Rent goes up every year, sometimes twice, and groceries, utilities, transportation, they all inch higher too, like they're in a race against my salary, always winning. When I was a kid, I thought once I got a real job, I'd finally be free to live comfortably, free to plan my future, free to breathe. But reality hit hard. Instead, I feel trapped, like I'm drowning in quicksand, sinking slowly with every expense that piles on. My day starts with a ritual, checking my bank balance, counting out what I can afford. There's this constant mental ledger in my head: rent, utilities, food, transportation, minimum payments on my credit card, a little bit set aside for emergencies. I've learned to live with the tension of knowing that even a small, unexpected cost could throw everything off. Last month, my car broke down. It wasn't even a major issue, just a battery replacement, but the $150 I had to scrape together made me miss a utility payment. That domino effect is terrifying. It's not just numbers, it's anxiety that creeps in, gnawing at me during the quiet moments. Emotionally, it's exhausting to live with this constant pressure. I feel like I'm invisible in a system that rewards those who already have, those who can afford to invest, to save, to take risks. I see friends buying homes, traveling, starting businesses, and I'm happy for them. But there's a part of me that's quietly mourning the opportunities I've had to postpone or give up on. I had dreams of finishing school, maybe going for a master's degree, but every extra tuition payment feels like a luxury I can't afford. I've delayed those dreams, telling myself that one day, when the numbers finally tip in my favor, I'll chase them again. There's also this loneliness to it. People don't often talk about financial stress openly, especially among peers. So I put on a brave face. I laugh, I join in conversations about weekend plans or new gadgets, but inside I'm calculating what those plans would cost me and feeling the sting of exclusion. It's like being part of a world that's moving forward without you. I sometimes wonder if anyone else feels this way, or if I'm just weak for struggling so much. Coping has become a skill I'm constantly trying to refine. I track every expense obsessively, use coupons, meal prep to avoid eating out, and have learned to negotiate bills when I can. I've taken on side gigs just to make ends meet, some days delivering food, other days freelancing online. It's exhausting, but there's a small victory in seeing that extra money hit my account. It reminds me that I'm still fighting, still not giving up, even when the system seems designed to hold me down. What keeps me going? Hope. It sounds cliché, but hope is the thread that pulls me through. I hope for a day when my income matches the rising costs, when I can stop worrying about the next unexpected bill and start saving, dreaming, living. I imagine what it would feel like to buy a home, to travel without stressing over every penny, to invest in myself without guilt. These dreams are what make the grind bearable, even when the present feels overwhelming. Some nights, I let myself cry, not because I'm defeated, but because I'm human. Because I carry the weight of this invisible battle every day. I'm trying to remind myself that struggling with money doesn't define my worth. I'm more than my bank balance or my bills. And maybe one day, when the economic tide shifts, I'll look back and see that these hard years were the soil where resilience took root. Until then, I keep moving forward, one careful step at a time, trying to find peace in the small wins and strength in the hope for something better. Because even when trapped in a system that feels like it's designed to keep me down, I'm still dreaming, and that dream, fragile as it is mine to hold on to. I never imagined I'd feel this stuck, like my feet were caught in quicksand while the world kept moving ahead. It's like I'm trapped in this endless loop. Every month I make my paycheck stretch thinner than before, but no matter what I do, the bills pile up faster than I can handle. It's exhausting. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm in my mid-20s, supposed to be building my life, but all I feel is this constant pressure weighing down on me. When I wake up each morning, the first thought that hits me is, how am I going to make this work? Not what to wear or what to eat or what's on my schedule, but how to juggle rent, groceries, utilities, student loans, and all the random expenses that somehow never stop appearing. It's like the cost of living is on a rocket, and my paycheck is barely crawling forward on a rusty bicycle. I remember when I first got my job after college. It felt like freedom, finally having my own money, paying my own bills, making plans. But reality hit fast. The rent was higher than I expected. Groceries, transportation, healthcare, everything felt more expensive than I'd ever budgeted for. I was hopeful then. I thought, I'll get a raise soon, or maybe a better job, and things will even out. But the economy shifted, prices soared, and the raises barely covered inflation. Every raise felt like a tiny drop of water in a bottomless bucket of expenses. Sometimes I try to break down the numbers in my head and remind myself it's just math. But it's not just math, it's the constant anxiety that lives in the back of my mind, whispering that if I slip up, even just a little, the consequences could spiral. A missed payment, an unexpected car repair, a sudden health issue, it could all unravel the fragile balance I'm barely maintaining. I cut corners wherever I can. No more dinners out with friends, no spontaneous purchases, no vacations or new clothes. I thrift shop for essentials, meal prep obsessively to avoid wasting food or money, and I cancel subscriptions one by one. Yet, it's never enough. I still feel behind. I still feel the weight of a future that seems further away with every passing month. The emotional toll is the hardest part. There are days I wake up feeling defeated before I even get out of bed. That gnawing feeling of inadequacy, like I'm failing at adulthood because I can't seem to get ahead. It's lonely too. Friends don't always understand because they might have family support or higher paying jobs, and talking about money struggles feels taboo, like admitting weakness. So, I keep it to myself, pretending everything is okay when inside I'm scrambling. I envy people who seem to breeze through life, making plans to buy a house, start a family, or travel the world. Those dreams are not impossible for me, but they're on pause indefinitely. I had dreams of moving to a bigger city, going back to school for something I love, maybe starting my own business someday. Now, those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful but unreachable. Still, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that this isn't forever. That the system is flawed, not me. That I'm learning resilience and grit through these struggles. Sometimes, I write in a journal or talk to a close friend about how I feel, just to unburden myself a little. Other times, I find small moments of joy, a quiet walk in the park, a good book, a sunset, that remind me life isn't only about money. But the trap is real, and the pressure is relentless. I'm caught in a system where expenses grow faster than income, where every decision feels like a trade-off. Should I pay the credit card bill or buy groceries? Should I fix the car now or risk it breaking down later? Should I save a little for emergencies or try to clear this month's debt? The questions never stop. What keeps me going is the belief that someday, somehow, the tide will turn. That maybe a new opportunity will arise, or I'll find a way to build a life that isn't dominated by financial stress. I hold on to the thought that I'm not alone in this, that so many others are facing similar battles, and together we might find a better way. Until then, I'll keep pushing through the exhaustion, the fear, and the frustration. Because despite everything, I still have hope, and sometimes, hope is the only thing that keeps you moving forward. This is my truth, raw, vulnerable, and real. I'm just trying to live, survive, and maybe one day, thrive. I never imagined my 20s would feel like this, like running on a treadmill that speeds up every day, while I'm stuck in place, gasping for breath. It's this constant, gnawing pressure, like a weight I carry that never lightens, no matter what I do. I'm a young adult, supposedly at the prime of my life, but the reality is I'm trapped in a financial grind that's swallowing me whole. Each morning, I wake up knowing I'll face the same tightrope walk, balancing bills, rent, groceries, and those little extras that used to be simple pleasures. But now, everything feels like a luxury I can barely afford. The rent keeps climbing, groceries cost more every week, and the utility bills? Don't get me started. I work full-time, often overtime, but my paycheck feels like a shrinking lifeline. Inflation seems to mock me, growing faster than my income, pulling me deeper into the suffocating cycle. I try to break it down logically. My paycheck minus fixed expenses equals barely anything left. And when unexpected costs hit, a car repair, a medical bill, even just a broken phone charger, it's a crisis that threatens to unravel everything. I've learned to cut corners, to skip meals sometimes, to stretch every dollar as far as it will go. But the anxiety never fades. It's like I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, and when it does, I'm not sure I'll be able to catch it. Emotionally, it's exhausting. There's this undercurrent of shame and frustration that I battle daily. I know I'm not alone, a lot of people my age are stuck in this loop. But that doesn't make it easier to deal with. Sometimes I feel invisible, like I'm just a number in a system that doesn't care about me or my dreams. Friends post pictures from vacations or new gadgets, and I smile for them, but inside, there's this hollow ache. I want those things. I want freedom. But right now, even dreaming about a trip feels irresponsible, like adding fuel to a fire that's already burning too hot. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I wanted to go back to school to finish my degree, to get that promotion that would finally ease some of the pressure. But tuition isn't something I can squeeze into my budget without spiraling into debt. So, that dream sits on a shelf, gathering dust. I wanted to save for a place of my own, a small sanctuary away from cramped, noisy apartments. But every month, my savings get eaten up by rent and bills, leaving me with nothing but hope and a growing pile of maybe someday. There are nights when the worry steals my sleep. I lie awake, replaying every expense, every paycheck, wondering if I made a mistake somewhere, if I could have done more, worked harder. It's a cruel loop because I am working hard, sometimes 2 jobs, sometimes late into the night, but the system feels rigged against me. The cost of living races ahead, and I'm stuck trying to catch up with shoes untied. Coping isn't easy. I try to find small moments of joy, like meeting friends for coffee, which has now become a once-a-month treat instead of a weekly habit. I read books I borrow from the library, instead of buying them. I listen to music while walking instead of taking the bus, just to save a couple of dollars. I've gotten really good at finding free events, applying for assistance programs, and scouring discount apps. It's survival mode, not the life I imagined for myself. But amidst all this, there's a flicker of resilience. I remind myself that this is temporary, even if it doesn't feel like it. That the economic system might be flawed, but it won't define me forever. I hold on to the belief that someday, with enough grit and a bit of luck, I'll break free from this trap. Maybe I'll find a better job, maybe the economy will shift, or maybe I'll create opportunities where none seem to exist. I dream of a future where money isn't a constant source of stress, where I can afford to invest in myself, to travel, to build relationships without counting every cent. I imagine waking up without that tight knot in my stomach, knowing I'm not just surviving but living. I want to be able to look back on these years as the struggle that made me stronger, not the years that broke me. For now, I keep moving forward, step by step, holding on to hope. Because what else is there? Giving up isn't an option. Not yet. I never thought I'd end up here, always chasing after a life that seemed just within reach, only for it to slip further away every time I thought I was catching up. The pressure starts small, a constant whisper in the back of my mind, but it grows, until it's a roar I can't escape. Financial pressure isn't just about money. It's about feeling stuck, shrinking, and suffocating in a system that seems designed to keep me running in place. Every day, I wake up with the weight of numbers pressing down on me. Rent is a mountain that only gets steeper, groceries, bills, transportation, everything I need somehow costs more than I earn. The economy feels like a fast-moving train that I can't jump on, no matter how hard I try. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up when I'm exhausted and slows down just when I think I'll collapse. I'm 26. I have a job I like, enough to get by, some days better than others. But my paycheck disappears the moment it arrives. I sit at my kitchen table, staring at the spreadsheet of my expenses, trying to find where I can cut back next. The truth is, I'm always cutting back. I've stopped buying new clothes, eating out, even going to the movies or meeting friends for coffee. Little pleasures that once made life feel worth it have become luxuries I can't afford. There's a sinking feeling in my chest when I realize how much I've sacrificed. I've put off doctor's appointments because I can't cover the copays. I've delayed fixing my car until it's almost a hazard, because every repair bill feels like a threat to my fragile budget. When my phone screen cracked, I hesitated for weeks before replacing it. I even went without a few days, relying on a borrowed device because it felt like choosing between a phone and food. That's when it hit me, this is what being trapped looks like. The system feels rigged. Prices climb, wages stay stagnant. Every month, the cost of living nibbles away at my savings, my hopes. The financial advice I read online, budget, save, invest, feels like cruel jokes. How do I save when my expenses devour every dollar? How do I invest when my future is just making it to the next paycheck? I feel like shouting, but who would listen? Some days, the anxiety becomes overwhelming. I lie awake at night, heart pounding, thinking about bills I can't pay or emergencies I'm not prepared for. I wonder how many more months I can keep this up without breaking. The fear isn't just about money, it's about losing control over my life, losing the dignity of being able to stand on my own 2 feet. I try to cope by reminding myself of small victories. Like managing to put a few dollars into an emergency fund. Or finding a cheaper brand of coffee so I can keep a bit of normalcy in my routine. I talk to friends when I can, though I often hide the full truth because I don't want to be a burden or seem like I'm failing. But the loneliness that comes with financial stress is real, like you're in a battle no one else fully understands. Dreams I once held close now feel distant. I wanted to travel, to learn new skills, to buy a little place to call home. But those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful, yes, but untouchable from here. Instead, I focus on the next month, the next bill, the next paycheck. My ambition is not to climb a mountain but to keep from sinking into quicksand. Still, there's a flicker of hope. A stubborn belief that this isn't the end of my story. Maybe one day the economy will shift, or I'll find a better job, or enough of us will demand change that the system bends to serve us, not trap us. For now, I hold on to that flicker. It's fragile, yes, but it's all I have. I'm tired. I'm scared. But I'm still here. And somehow, that counts for something. It's funny how money, or rather, the lack of it, manages to stretch itself over every corner of your life until you barely recognize who you are beneath the stress. I'm 27 now, and I feel like I've been running on a treadmill that's speeding up faster than I can keep pace with. Every month is a tightrope walk between just getting by and holy shit, how am I going to pay this bill? I grew up hearing about the American dream, the idea that if you work hard, you'll climb the ladder, buy a house, maybe even retire comfortably one day. But lately, that dream feels more like a distant mirage than a realistic goal. The cost of rent alone eats up more than half of my paycheck. Utilities, groceries, transportation, student loans, all of it keeps inching upward, and my income barely budges. Every raise I get feels like a consolation prize, because prices jump even faster. It's like I'm trapped in this endless loop where expenses sprint ahead, and I'm stuck trying to catch up with my paycheck in slow motion. Most mornings, I wake up with this sinking feeling in my chest. It's a heavy kind of dread that settles right behind my ribcage. I check my bank account, knowing the balance will barely cover essentials until the next payday. That moment of seeing the number, or rather, the small number, feels like a punch to the gut. Sometimes I lie there for a few minutes, paralyzed by the thought of another month where my financial decisions are dictated not by choice, but by survival. When I go to work, my mind is half on the tasks at hand and half on the math running through my head. Did I really need that extra coffee this morning? Could I have saved $5 by skipping it? Should I pack lunch every day to avoid spending money on takeout? These small decisions add up, but they also chip away at my sanity. There's a quiet, constant anxiety about whether I'm doing enough, being responsible enough, or just somehow failing. I've learned to be incredibly strategic about every purchase. Coupons, sales, meal planning, they're not just habits, they're lifelines. But the emotional toll is exhausting. It feels like I'm constantly bargaining with myself, deciding what parts of my life I can sacrifice to keep afloat. Sometimes it's missing out on social events because I can't afford the cover charge or dinner. Other times, it's delaying healthcare or ignoring that worn-out pair of shoes because the priority is rent. I've become an expert at saying no, to friends, to opportunities, even to myself. What's hardest is the loneliness that comes with this pressure. People don't always understand why you can't join them for a weekend trip or why you decline invitations. They assume it's a choice, or worse, laziness. But it's not. It's a cage built out of bills and paycheck constraints. When you have to calculate every dollar, spontaneity disappears, and with it, a part of your youth and freedom. Some nights, after a long day, I lie awake thinking about the dreams I used to have. I wanted to travel, to maybe start my own business, to save enough to buy a little place of my own, somewhere stable. But those dreams feel postponed indefinitely, shoved further down the priority list, beneath rent, groceries, debt payments, and emergency savings that barely exist. It's a strange kind of grief, mourning a future you can't quite reach yet, but still hoping it's not lost forever. Coping is a mix of little things. I find solace in journaling, writing down my frustrations, hopes, and the small victories. Talking to close friends who get it helps too, though I don't always want to be a burden. Sometimes, I treat myself to a simple pleasure, a movie night, a favorite snack, even if it means tightening the belt elsewhere. Those moments remind me that I'm still human, not just a ledger of expenses. The system itself feels indifferent. I work hard, sometimes overtime, but it never seems to translate into true financial breathing room. The job market is competitive, wages stagnant, inflation relentless. I can see the cracks in the foundation, but there's no clear escape hatch. It's a tough pill to swallow, realizing that hard work alone might not be enough to break free. Yet, despite all this, I hold on to hope. Not naive hope that everything will magically fix itself, but a quiet, stubborn hope that with perseverance, small changes, and maybe a bit of luck, things can improve. I remind myself that my worth isn't tied to my bank balance, even if it often feels that way. I dream of a day when financial stress isn't the lens through which I view my life, when I can make decisions based on desire and growth instead of just necessity. For now, I keep moving forward, one careful step at a time, navigating this complicated maze. It's exhausting and sometimes overwhelming, but I'm trying to find moments of peace amid the chaos, to believe in a better tomorrow, even when today feels heavy. Because if I gave up, what would be left? And if this story resonates, maybe it's not just mine, maybe it's the quiet, shared struggle of so many young adults trying to carve out a future in a world that often seems rigged against them. So here I am, still walking the tightrope, still hoping to land safely on the other side. I never imagined that by the time I turned 26, I'd feel so stuck. Like I'm caught in some slow-motion tide pulling me under, no matter how hard I try to swim forward. It's this relentless pressure, money slipping through my fingers faster than I can earn it, bills piling up, prices soaring like they don't even care I'm barely holding on. Some days, it feels like I'm living inside a cage built out of numbers, rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, car payments, and those surprise expenses that never seem to give me a moment's peace. Every morning, I wake up knowing I have to stretch what little I have to cover the essentials. The stress kicks in immediately, like a heavy weight settling on my chest. Should I skip breakfast to save money? Do I turn the heat down a degree even if it makes my apartment feel like a fridge? I find myself obsessively scanning my bank app, calculating and recalculating if there's enough for rent, enough for gas, enough for a cup of coffee, a rare small comfort I try not to deny myself, though it's often a luxury. It's exhausting. I spend more time worrying about money than actually living. I remember a time when I dreamed bigger. I thought after college, I'd have a job that paid decently, enough to maybe put some savings away or travel a bit. I wanted to move to a nicer neighborhood, maybe adopt a dog, decorate an apartment that felt like a home, not just a place I crash in between shifts. I imagined weekends spent with friends exploring the city or just relaxing without the gnawing worry about the next bill. But those dreams have slowly been put on hold, postponed indefinitely. I tell myself one day, but every day that passes, the gap between where I am and where I want to be feels wider. What's worse is how the system feels rigged against me. It's like the cost of living keeps rising on a steep incline while my paycheck stays stubbornly flat or barely edges up. Every increase in rent or groceries isn't matched by a corresponding rise in income. Inflation isn't just a number on the news, it's the reason I swapped out meat for cheaper beans, or why I hunt for sales and coupons like they're treasure. Watching prices rise while my salary doesn't keep pace feels like the ground shifting beneath my feet. I'm running, but I'm still falling behind. The emotional toll is heavy. There are nights I lie awake, stomach twisting, heart racing, because I'm trying to figure out how to make next month work. I wonder if I'm doing enough, working hard enough, smart enough. I feel a mix of guilt and frustration, guilt because I know my family has it harder, frustration because it seems no matter what I do, it's never enough. Sometimes, I feel invisible, like my struggle is just a small, silent voice drowned out by the noise of bigger economic forces beyond my control. And it's lonely. Even though I'm surrounded by people, this kind of stress isolates you. It's hard to open up about money worries because there's a stigma, a shame. No one wants to admit they can't keep up. But I've found ways to cope, even if they're small and imperfect. I've become a master at budgeting, meticulously tracking every dollar. I learned to cook meals from scratch instead of eating out, finding some satisfaction in creating something nourishing from almost nothing. I lean on friends when I can, sharing laughs that remind me life isn't just about struggle. And sometimes, I write, scribbling down my fears and hopes, giving them a voice so they don't get trapped inside me. Despite everything, I hold on to hope. I remind myself that this isn't permanent, even if it feels that way. I'm trying to build skills, look for better opportunities, and save any spare cent for a future where I'm not constantly gasping for air. I imagine a day when I'm not afraid to open a bill or check my bank account. When I can say yes to plans without worrying about the cost. When I can finally breathe easy and maybe, just maybe, start chasing those postponed dreams again. It's not easy admitting all this, the fear, the exhaustion, the disappointment. But I'm tired of pretending it's simple or that I'm okay just because I keep going. Being honest about this struggle is the first step toward breaking free from the trap. Because even when the system feels like it's against me, I still want to believe in a better tomorrow. And sometimes, that hope is the only thing that keeps me moving forward. I never thought I'd feel this way at 26, like I'm stuck in quicksand, sinking deeper every month while trying to keep my head above water. Every day is a reminder that the world around me is spinning faster than I can keep up with, especially when it comes to money. It's like I'm running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, but no matter how fast I go, I'm still in the same place. Worse yet, the bills and expenses keep piling on, growing at a rate that outpaces my paychecks, leaving me breathless and overwhelmed. It started slowly, almost imperceptibly. When I graduated college, I was hopeful. I had a decent job lined up in marketing, a modest salary but enough to cover rent, food, and the occasional night out. I imagined a life where I could save a little, maybe travel once or twice a year, and eventually move into a place of my own. But that was before rent surged up by a couple $100s, before my car broke down and the repairs cost more than I had in my emergency fund, before groceries and utilities crept higher every few months. Now, every paycheck feels like a battle. I sit down with my spreadsheet, calculating line by line, rent, utilities, phone, groceries, insurance, transportation. Then there are the less predictable things, an unexpected doctor's visit, a broken appliance, or just a craving for something that doesn't come from a dollar store shelf. Those small extras feel like luxuries I can't afford anymore, and I feel the weight of them crushing my sense of normalcy. There's this constant anxiety buzzing in the back of my mind. Am I spending too much? Did I forget to pay a bill? How will I cover next month? That anxiety translates into a kind of emotional exhaustion that doesn't just fade away when I close my laptop or turn off my phone. I feel the pressure in my chest, tightening like a knot that never fully unravels. Sleep comes in fits, dreams invaded by numbers and what-ifs. It's hard to explain this feeling to people who aren't in it. On the surface, I look okay, I hold a steady job, I'm not drowning in credit card debt, at least not yet, and I manage to eat every day. But beneath that surface is a persistent fear of slipping, of not being able to catch up. Sometimes I wonder if this is what it means to be trapped in a system that's not designed for people like me to get ahead. I see friends buying homes, traveling to places I've only pinned on Pinterest boards, or starting families. I'm happy for them, truly, but I can't help feeling a sting. What about me? My dreams have had to wait. The trip to Europe I saved for years? On hold indefinitely. The new laptop I needed for work to upgrade my skills? Still sitting in the someday box. Even simple things like eating out with friends or buying new clothes are weighed and measured against my shrinking budget. The word no has become a familiar companion. Coping with all this means learning to be creative with very little. I scour discount apps, meal prep to avoid eating out, and pick up side gigs that pay just enough to cover a little extra, but never enough to break free. I've learned the hard way that a single unexpected expense can wipe out weeks of careful budgeting. There's a bitter irony in working hard every day yet feeling like I'm just treading water. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. Am I not working hard enough? Not saving enough? But then I look around and see the rising costs everywhere: housing, healthcare, even the basics like gas and groceries. It's clear this isn't about personal failure, it's about an economy that's leaving people like me behind, squeezing us tighter every year. The hardest part is the feeling of invisibility. The system feels designed for others, those with more cushion, more connections, or more opportunities. I've tried to be patient, believing that if I just keep grinding, things will improve. But the longer this goes on, the more I feel my hope slipping away. It's a quiet desperation, the kind that doesn't make headlines but shapes every decision you make. Yet, despite it all, I cling to the smallest sparks of hope. I remind myself that this moment, no matter how suffocating, is not my whole story. I imagine a future where the pressure eases, where I can breathe without the constant weight of financial strain. A future where I can pursue my passions without fear of how to pay the next bill. Maybe that future means changing paths, learning new skills, or moving to a more affordable place. Maybe it means starting small, planting seeds that will grow slowly but surely. For now, I keep going, holding on to that fragile hope. I take comfort in the little things: a conversation with a friend, a walk in the park, the feeling of having a roof over my head, even if it feels like it's made of paper-thin walls. I try to be gentle with myself, reminding myself that struggling doesn't mean failing. It means I'm human, caught in a system that's broken, doing my best to survive. And maybe one day soon, the tide will turn. Maybe one day soon, I'll look back on these hard years and see them as the moment I kept fighting, even when everything tried to tell me to give up. Until then, I hold on to the hope that I'm more than my paycheck, more than my debt, and that the dreams I've postponed are still waiting for me to catch my breath and chase them again. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I never thought I'd be this person, staring at my bank account with a kind of dread that wakes me up in the middle of the night. The numbers never seem to add up. Every month, I'm caught in the same exhausting loop: pay rent, pay bills, buy groceries, maybe squeeze in a few essentials, and then somehow scrape by until the next paycheck. But scraping by feels more like hanging on by my fingertips. The thing is, it's not just me. It's the world around me. The economy keeps shifting, prices climb higher, but my income? It's stuck, barely moving. I'm 27, working full-time at a job I thought would give me a decent start, customer service for a mid-sized company. It's steady, sure, but the raise I got last year barely kept pace with the inflation rate. My rent alone takes up almost half my paycheck, and that's in a tiny apartment far from the city center. I can't afford a better place, not even close. Every day, I see ads for apartments with nicer amenities and better neighborhoods, but they might as well be from a different planet. It's not just housing. The grocery store aisles feel like a minefield. I compare prices, clip coupons, and sometimes settle for cheaper, less healthy food because it's the only way to stretch my dollars. Even the smallest indulgences, a cup of coffee with a friend, a new book, feel like luxuries I have to think twice about. There's this crushing feeling of being trapped. Like I'm running on a treadmill that speeds up every few months, and no matter how fast I run, I'm going nowhere. Expenses grow faster than my income, and it's relentless. Utilities go up, gas prices climb, insurance premiums increase. I try to budget meticulously, cutting out anything non-essential, but the essentials keep getting more expensive. It's frustrating and humiliating to admit, but sometimes I feel like I'm failing myself. I work hard, but the system feels rigged. It's like the rules are written for people with more money, or people who got lucky somehow, not for someone like me trying to build a life. Emotionally, it's exhausting. I feel this constant low-level anxiety that never quite leaves. Planning the future feels impossible when every day is about survival. Some nights, I lie awake imagining what it would feel like to be free from money worries, to breathe without that weight on my chest. It's not just the money, it's the way it gnaws at your self-esteem. I catch myself shrinking away from social invitations because I don't want to explain why I can't afford to go out, or feeling embarrassed about my hand-me-down clothes and budget meals. There's a loneliness in this struggle, like you're fighting a battle that no one else sees. I cope the best way I can. I've learned to celebrate small victories, making it through the month without overdrafting, finding a good deal at the thrift store, or cooking a decent meal with whatever's left in the pantry. Sometimes, I escape into books or podcasts that remind me there's a bigger world beyond this stress. I've started journaling, even if just for a few minutes a day, to get my fears and hopes out of my head. I also keep reaching out to friends, even when I'm afraid they'll judge me or think I'm just being irresponsible. The truth is, I need their support as much as they might need mine. But the dreams I once had, they feel so far away. I wanted to travel, to see new places and meet new people. I wanted to save enough to go back to school and finish the degree I dropped out of when things got tight. I imagined buying a car, maybe one day a home of my own. Now, those dreams feel like luxuries, distant and almost unattainable. I try to remind myself that postponing a dream doesn't mean giving up, but sometimes the weight of waiting feels like giving up in disguise. Still, I hold on to hope. Hope that if I keep working, keep pushing, things will get better. I look for ways to grow, taking free online courses, networking quietly, and trying to build new skills. I remind myself that I'm not defined by this financial pressure, even if it feels like it controls everything. I'm more than a paycheck, more than the bills I struggle to pay. Someday, I want to look back and see this as the hard chapter that shaped me, not the one that broke me. For now, I keep moving forward, one tight budget, one late-night worry, one small step at a time. Because despite the pressure, despite feeling trapped, I still believe in the possibility of something better. And maybe that belief is what keeps me going. It's funny how money can feel like both everything and nothing at the same time. Like, it's just paper or numbers on a screen, but when you don't have enough of it, it's like you're drowning in an invisible current you can't fight against. That's been my life for a while now, this constant, exhausting pressure of trying to stay afloat in a world where prices climb faster than my paycheck ever does. I'm 26, living in a small apartment that costs way too much for what it is, and working a job that barely covers the basics. Every month feels like a battle against the bills, the rent, the groceries, and the little things that keep adding up, an unexpected doctor visit, a broken phone screen, or the increase in my utility bill that I never saw coming. I wake up some mornings with this tight knot in my chest, not from any physical pain, but from the weight of knowing that I have to make this stretch just a little bit further than it's meant to. It's exhausting. When I was a teenager, I had dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, to study something I loved, to maybe even start my own little business one day. But those dreams feel like distant stars now, visible but so impossibly far away. The world I live in right now is much smaller. Pay rent, don't go out too much, save a tiny bit if I can. Even the act of saving feels like a cruel joke. The economy changes every day, the prices change every day. And yet, my income seems to move at a snail's pace, barely inching up enough to keep up with inflation, which by the way feels more like a tidal wave. I try to keep track of every penny, scribbling budgets in a notebook, using apps that promise to help me save, but there's always some expense that I didn't account for. Last month, my car needed a repair, and suddenly my whole carefully balanced budget was wrecked. I had to borrow from a friend, which made me feel ashamed, even though I knew it was necessary. There's this constant feeling of being trapped in a system that's rigged against people like me, people who work hard but never quite get ahead. The pressure isn't just financial, it gnaws at my mental health too. I find myself withdrawing from friends because going out costs money I don't have. When they ask why I don't join, I say I'm tired or have other plans, but the truth is that it hurts to say no all the time. It's lonely, this isolation born out of necessity. Sometimes I get angry at the economy, at the politicians who don't seem to care, at the people who tell me to just work harder or save more as if those are simple commands. But most days, I just feel exhausted. Like my energy is a finite resource that gets drained every time I open a bill or check my bank account. I've become incredibly cautious with my spending. I cook at home instead of eating out, even when I'm tired from a long day. I skip the gym membership I once thought was essential because $30 a month now feels like a luxury. I walk instead of taking the bus to save a few dollars, even if it means arriving late or feeling worn out. I've stopped buying clothes that I want and only replace what's absolutely necessary. Birthdays and holidays pass with homemade gifts or nothing at all. But in the quiet moments, when the noise of everyday survival dims, I sometimes feel this ache for more. For freedom. For the possibility to breathe without counting every cent, to live without the ever-present shadow of debt and worry. I want to believe that there's a future where I can finally invest in myself, go back to school, maybe get a degree that could open new doors, or even just take a proper vacation to remind myself what life outside of survival looks like. But right now, those are just wishes, tucked away behind the concrete walls of reality. I also think about my family and how different things were for them, or at least, that's what I'm told. My parents worked hard, yes, but somehow they managed to buy a home, save for retirement, and still have some money left over for small luxuries. I wonder if it's the economy that's changed or if the whole system just shifted in a way that leaves people like me with fewer chances. It feels like climbing a ladder where every rung grows farther apart the higher you go. Some days, I let myself dream. I imagine waking up with no anxiety about bills, with enough money to donate to a cause I care about, with the freedom to take a spontaneous trip or even just to splurge on a good meal without guilt. Those dreams give me hope but also sting because they're so far away. The hardest part is holding on to that hope while the present demands so much sacrifice and self-denial. To cope, I try to find small moments of joy. Watching sunsets, talking with close friends, writing in a journal, or just taking a deep breath and reminding myself that I'm more than my financial situation. But it's a fragile shield. The truth is, the stress never fully leaves me. It's a background hum to everything I do, a constant reminder of the tightrope I'm walking every day. I'm learning to be kinder to myself. To recognize that surviving in this economy isn't a failure, it's resilience. But I won't lie and say I'm okay with it. I want change. I want a future where money isn't the enemy or the master. I want to see a world where people like me have a real shot at security, at growth, at joy without the weight of constant financial fear. For now, I take it one day at a time. I budget, I hustle, I borrow when I have to, and I keep hoping. Because even in this system that feels designed to trap me, I hold on to the belief that better days can come. That my story doesn't have to be one of endless struggle, but one of eventual breakthrough. And maybe, just maybe, those postponed dreams will find their way back into my life when I least expect it. Until then, I keep walking the tightrope, balancing the harsh reality with fragile hope, one step at a time. It's like walking on a treadmill that's speeding up, but you're stuck in place. Every month, my paycheck lands in my bank account, and for a moment, there's this fleeting sense of relief, as if, finally, things might get a little easier. But then the bills come. Rent, utilities, groceries, phone, student loans, insurance, and on and on. They all add up faster than I can keep up, and before I know it, I'm back to the same place, scrambling, juggling, stressing. I'm 27 now, and the financial pressure has been a constant companion for years. When I graduated college, I was hopeful. I believed that with a degree and a steady job, I'd be able to carve out some independence, maybe even start saving for the future. But that future feels like a distant mirage now. It's hard to explain the weight of always feeling behind, like no matter what I do, the numbers on my bills are always one step ahead of what's in my wallet. The economic environment today feels like it's rigged against people like me, young adults just trying to build a life. Prices rise every month. Rent in the city where I work has gone up nearly 15% since I moved here 3 years ago. Grocery costs have doubled for some staples. And my salary? It's inching up at a snail's pace, barely enough to cover inflation, let alone give me any breathing room. I see news stories about inflation and interest rates, but they often feel abstract, like they're happening to someone else. Until I open my bank app and stare at my balance. Then it hits me, this is my reality. Every day, I have to make decisions that no one should have to make just to survive. Some days I skip meals or eat less to save money. Other days I hold off on filling prescriptions or going to the dentist because the copays are too high. I've canceled my gym membership, my streaming subscriptions, and any luxury like dining out or coffee runs. Even little things, like choosing to walk instead of taking the bus or cutting my phone data plan, become sources of stress. These decisions chip away at my well-being, but it's hard to admit how much they affect me emotionally. I try to stay positive, to keep a stiff upper lip, but at night, the anxiety creeps in. I lie awake wondering how I'll cover unexpected expenses, a car repair, a medical bill, or even just the heating bill in winter. The uncertainty is exhausting. It feels like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me running in place, never getting ahead, always just one emergency away from falling apart. There's a loneliness to it too. I watch friends buy homes, travel, or start families, and I'm genuinely happy for them, but it also stings. I feel left behind, like I'm on a different track with higher hurdles. Social gatherings sometimes feel like a minefield because I'm always calculating the cost of showing up, the gas, the cover charge, the meal, and sometimes I just can't justify it. That isolation adds to the emotional toll, even though I crave connection. To cope, I've developed a few survival strategies. I meal prep on Sundays, making the most out of sales and bulk purchases. I use budgeting apps religiously, trying to forecast every cent. I pick up freelance gigs whenever I can, late nights after my 9 to 5, because every extra dollar counts. Sometimes I talk openly about my struggles with close friends, which helps, but I've also become adept at putting on a brave face. There's a stigma around financial insecurity that makes it hard to be vulnerable with most people. Despite all this, I hold on to my dreams, even if they seem farther away than ever. I want to buy a small apartment someday, a place to call my own, where I'm not at the mercy of rising rents. I dream of traveling again, seeing new places without counting every penny. I want to build savings so I don't have to panic every time an unexpected bill arrives. I want to pursue hobbies and education without the constant cloud of money stress. But these hopes have been postponed indefinitely. Right now, it's about survival, one paycheck at a time. Sometimes, I wonder how different things might be if the system worked differently. If wages matched the real cost of living. If housing wasn't such an impossible expense. If the safety nets were stronger. But in the meantime, I keep moving forward, however slowly, because giving up isn't an option. This is my story, not just of financial struggle, but of resilience in the face of an unrelenting system. I'm tired, but I'm still here. And maybe that's something. If you ask me what I want most right now, it's not a sudden windfall or a magic fix. It's the freedom to breathe without fear. to plan without panic, to dream without delay, and to finally feel like I'm moving forward, not just running in place. I never thought I'd end up here, caught in this endless loop where money feels like water slipping through my fingers, no matter how hard I try to hold on. I'm 27, living in a cramped apartment that's been my home for the past 3 years, but it doesn't feel like a home so much as a shelter from the storm of bills and rising costs that hover over me like a cloud I can't escape. Every morning, I wake up with this knot in my stomach before the day even begins. It's not the usual kind of anxiety, like a big presentation or a social event. It's the kind that comes from knowing that no matter how many hours I work, or how tightly I pinch pennies, I'm still falling behind. The rent goes up a little more each year, utilities rise, groceries aren't getting any cheaper, and that car I rely on for work demands constant repairs. Meanwhile, my paycheck stays stubbornly the same. Sometimes I lie awake at night, calculating in my head how many paychecks it would take to cover last month's bills, and it feels like a cruel joke. I grew up believing that hard work would pay off, that if I put in the effort, I'd be able to build a life where I'm not constantly stressed about money. But the reality is so different. It's like the system is designed to keep me running on a treadmill, sprinting just to stay in place. Every time I get a small raise or a bonus, it's swallowed up by the increased cost of living before I even get a chance to save. And the debts, credit cards, student loans, they're like anchors dragging me down, making it impossible to climb out. Because of all this, I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I used to imagine traveling, exploring new cities, and experiencing the world beyond my small town. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a master's degree or learn something new that could open better career doors. But each of those hopes feels like a luxury I can't afford. Every dollar I earn is earmarked for essentials: rent, food, gas, insurance. I remind myself that this is just a season, that things will get better, but some days it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The emotional toll is heavier than I expected. There are moments when I feel ashamed, like I'm failing somehow because I can't make it the way others seem to. I hide that from my family and friends because I don't want to burden them or seem weak. But inside, the weight presses down, feelings of hopelessness, frustration, and sometimes deep loneliness. It's hard to stay motivated when every decision feels like a trade-off between survival and living. Coping is a daily challenge. I've learned to become hyper-aware of every expense, tracking my spending obsessively, clipping coupons, scouring discount apps, and even negotiating bills when I can. I rely on simple pleasures that cost little or nothing: long walks, podcasts, cooking meals at home instead of eating out. There are nights when I binge-watch old shows just to escape reality for a while. Social invitations often get declined because I can't afford to add to my expenses, and that isolation can be painful. Despite it all, I cling to small sparks of hope. I try to remind myself why I started working so hard in the first place. I'm trying to build a foundation, no matter how shaky, for a future where I might feel a little more secure. I dream of owning a small home one day, of waking up without that sinking feeling of dread about money. I dream of having the freedom to say yes to opportunities, whether it's a weekend getaway or a class that could change my career path. Writing this out now, I realize I'm not alone. So many people around me share this struggle, even if it's unspoken. The economic pressure is a silent epidemic that shapes our lives quietly but deeply. Maybe sharing this story is a step toward lifting some of that weight, even just a little. Because while the system feels like it's designed to trap me, I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping for something better. And maybe that's enough for today. It's late again, past midnight, and I'm sitting at my small kitchen table with the dim light of a single lamp casting long shadows across my cluttered notebooks and empty coffee cups. I'm tired, but sleep feels like a luxury these days. My mind races with numbers and deadlines, worries I can't turn off. The weight of money feels heavier than ever, like it's pressing down on my chest, making every breath a little harder to take. I'm 26, living in a cramped apartment that I can barely afford, working a job that pays just enough to keep the lights on but not enough to feel secure. Every month, the same story plays out: my paycheck comes in, and before I even get a chance to breathe, it's swallowed up by rent, bills, groceries, and the little things I need just to get through the week. Somehow, the prices keep climbing, rent hikes, grocery costs going up, gas prices surging, and my income just sits there, stagnant, as if trapped in some broken machine. I know this isn't just me, it's a system, an economy that's out of sync with real life. I remember when I was a kid, people talked about getting a job, working hard, and moving up. But now, all I see around me are people stuck in the same endless loop, working harder, earning barely more, and still falling behind. The hope I had when I graduated feels like a distant memory, something fragile and easily crushed. I had dreams, big ones, traveling, going back to school, maybe even buying a little home someday. But those dreams have been shelved, folded away like old clothes I can't wear anymore. Each morning, I wake up and face a list of decisions that feel impossible. Should I pay the credit card bill this month, or cover the overdue utilities? Can I afford to fill the gas tank or buy groceries, or do I need to make the coffee last one more day? Sometimes I skip meals or eat cheaper, less healthy food, even though I know it's hurting me. It's a constant balancing act where everything feels urgent but nothing ever really solves the problem. The emotional toll is exhausting. I feel anxious most of the time, a low simmer of fear that something will go wrong, a car breakdown, a medical bill, an unexpected expense, that will send me spiraling. I'm embarrassed to admit how often I've had to borrow from friends or family, or lie about how things are going because I don't want to seem weak or like a failure. The shame is a quiet shadow that follows me everywhere. Yet, despite all this, I try to keep going. I remind myself that I'm not alone, even if it feels like it. I reach out for help when I can, but sometimes that just means talking to a coworker over lunch or scrolling through forums where people share their own stories of scraping by. These small connections remind me that this struggle isn't a personal failing but part of a bigger, broken system. I cope by finding tiny moments of joy, listening to music on the walk home, writing in my journal, or watching a sunset when I have the time. These aren't grand escapes, but they keep me sane. Sometimes I let myself dream, even if it hurts. I imagine a future where I don't have to worry about money every second, where I can breathe and plan without fear. I picture traveling to new places, going back to school, starting a small side business, maybe even saving enough to help my family. But the hardest part is knowing that for now, those dreams are on hold. Life demands survival first. It's like being stuck in quicksand, you struggle and move, but you don't get anywhere. Still, I try to hold on to hope, because if I let that go, what else is there? This isn't just a story about numbers and bills, it's about the way economic pressure shapes my days and colors my nights with worry. It's about feeling trapped in a system that seems indifferent to the human cost. And yet, it's also a story of quiet resilience, of finding small sparks of light in the dark, and the stubborn belief that one day, things might be different. For now, I keep going, one day at a time, trying to believe that the future holds more than just survival. I never thought I'd find myself here, stuck in this endless loop of counting pennies, weighing every choice, and feeling the weight of bills that keep piling up faster than my paycheck grows. It's exhausting. It's humiliating. And it's becoming my everyday reality. I'm 27 now, and for as long as I can remember, money has always been tight. But lately, it feels like the world around me is speeding up, while I'm running on a treadmill that's moving backward. The rent goes up every year, groceries cost more every time I go to the store, and gas prices make even driving to work feel like a luxury. Meanwhile, my income hasn't changed much, and the little raises I get barely make a dent in the rising costs. It's like I'm trapped in a system that's rigged to keep me on edge, to keep me just barely afloat. Every morning, I wake up with this gnawing anxiety: what bills do I have to pay today? How much can I spend on food without dipping into rent money? Do I have enough for gas, or do I need to bike to work? The thought of opening my bank app is stressful. Sometimes I just don't look. Ignorance feels like a tiny relief, even if it's just temporary. I remember the days when I believed things would get better once I finished school and got a real job. I thought steady work would mean stability. But the reality hit hard. I work a full-time job, 40 hours a week, sometimes more, and it still feels like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. No safety net. No room for mistakes. And if an unexpected expense comes up, a car repair, a medical bill, it throws everything into chaos. I have to borrow from friends, shuffle payments, or just go without essentials. It's humiliating to ask for help, but sometimes it's the only option. I keep a strict budget, of course. I track every dollar, every cent. No dining out, no new clothes, no extras. I cut back on the little things that once brought me joy: coffee runs, movie nights, catching up with friends over drinks. It's lonely. I watch others around me living freely, making plans, going on trips, buying things without a second thought, and I feel left behind. It's hard not to compare, hard not to feel like I'm failing somehow. My emotional health has taken a hit. The constant pressure wears me down. There are nights I lie awake, heart pounding, worrying about how I'll pay rent next month, how I'll cover unexpected costs, how I'll ever save enough to move out of this cramped apartment. I feel trapped in a cycle I can't escape. Sometimes I get angry, frustrated at the system, at the economy, at myself. Other times, I just feel numb. But despite all this, I try to hold on to hope. I dream of a future where I don't have to choose between groceries and gas, where I can save money, travel, maybe buy a home one day. I think about going back to school to get a better degree, but the cost and time feel impossible right now. I dream of starting a family someday, but how do you plan for that when you can't even plan next month's budget? Coping is hard, but I find small ways to get through the day. I lean on a few close friends who understand and don't judge me. I take walks when I can, breathe in the fresh air, remind myself that this moment is temporary. Sometimes, I write down my feelings, trying to make sense of the chaos inside. I celebrate the tiny wins, paying off a small debt, finding a cheaper grocery store, making it through another week without missing a bill. The truth is, I'm tired. But I'm still here. I'm still trying. And I want to believe that someday, the numbers will finally work in my favor. That someday, I'll wake up without the crushing weight of financial worry. That someday, I'll have the freedom to dream bigger again. Until then, I keep going, one day at a time, holding on to the fragile hope that the future can be different from today. Because even in the darkest moments, hope is what keeps me moving forward. I never thought I'd feel this way, like I'm running a race that keeps getting longer and steeper, with no finish line in sight. But here I am, in my mid-20s, stuck in a loop where expenses rise like tides, and my paycheck feels like a tiny boat trying to stay afloat. It's exhausting, confusing, and sometimes it feels like I'm drowning in a system that wasn't made for people like me. I graduated college with hope, or at least the version of hope I thought I was supposed to have. Get a degree, work hard, and you'll be fine, everyone said. But reality didn't care much for that neat narrative. The job market was tough, wages barely kept up with inflation, and rent in my city was already eating up half my income before I even bought groceries or paid for utilities. Every month felt like a math problem with no good solution. Some days, I'm overwhelmed just thinking about money. How did it get so complicated? A few years ago, I might have casually grabbed a coffee on the way to work or ordered takeout without a second thought. Now, I weigh every choice. Do I really need that latte? Can I stretch this food another day? Will skipping a social event help me save enough to cover an unexpected bill? Bills stack up like mountains. Rent goes up every year, my phone plan is non-negotiable, and car repairs pop up when I least expect them. It's like the cost of living is a relentless wave crashing over me, and my salary is a fragile umbrella trying to shield me from the storm. I work extra hours when I can, but that just steals time from rest, friends, or even the simplest joys. The emotional toll is heavy. I often feel a knot of anxiety in my chest that tightens every time I open a bank app. There's this constant worry that one mistake, one emergency, one bad month, and everything could spiral out of control. Sleep doesn't come easy when your brain won't stop running through bills, deadlines, and what-ifs. I sometimes lie awake at night, wondering if I'm just not good enough, Or if the system itself is rigged to keep people like me from getting ahead. I have dreams, of course. Dreams I've had since I was a kid. Traveling, owning a home, maybe starting a family someday. But those dreams feel like fragile glass, beautiful but easily shattered by reality. Every time I think about saving for a trip or putting down a deposit on a place, I have to remind myself that right now, survival comes first. I've put off going back to school for something I'm passionate about because the loans, the lost income, the risk, all too scary. I've shelved the idea of buying a car or investing in hobbies because the money has to go to essentials. Coping with this pressure isn't easy. I try to find small moments of peace, walking in the park, chatting with friends who get it, or losing myself in a book or show. But there's always that underlying stress, like a shadow I can't shake. I sometimes get angry, frustrated at a world that feels so unfair. Other times, I feel ashamed for not having it all figured out, even though I know plenty of people are in the same boat. I remind myself to be kind to myself. To celebrate the small wins, making rent on time, cooking a meal from scratch, finding a way to save a little each month. I reach out for support when I can, whether it's family, friends, or sometimes professional advice. But the truth is, it often feels like I'm fighting alone in a system designed to keep people scrambling. The hardest part is the feeling of being trapped. Like no matter how hard I work, how many sacrifices I make, the finish line moves further away. I see friends and family buying homes, getting promotions, traveling, and sometimes I wonder if I'm missing something. But I know the truth, it's not a lack of effort or ambition. It's a system where wages don't match the rising cost of living, where safety nets are thin, and where financial pressure isn't just a phase, it's a chronic condition. Yet, despite it all, I hold on to hope. Maybe one day, the scales will tip. Maybe I'll find a job that pays fairly, maybe rent will stabilize, maybe the economy will shift. Until then, I keep going, one day at a time. Because giving up isn't an option, not when there's still a flicker of a dream inside me, quiet but alive. This is my story. Not just about money, but about resilience, about feeling vulnerable and scared but still choosing to move forward. Because even in the hardest times, we deserve to dream, to hope, and to believe that things can get better. Some days, it feels like I'm running in place, like no matter how fast or hard I push, I'm stuck on a treadmill that's speeding up just beyond my reach. That's the way I've come to think about my finances lately. The bills pile up, the rent creeps higher every year, groceries seem to cost more each time I step into the store, and my paycheck, well, that barely budges. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's starting to wear me down in ways I didn't expect. I'm 26, working a full-time job that pays decently for where I live, but not enough to really feel stable or secure. It's not that I'm lazy or careless, I'm careful. I budget, I cut corners, I skip nights out with friends more often than I'd like. But still, the math never adds up the way I want it to. It's like I'm caught in a system designed to keep me just barely afloat. Expenses grow faster than my income, and I can't seem to get ahead, no matter how hard I try. Some mornings I wake up anxious, even before my feet touch the floor. I scroll through my banking app and watch my balance shrink. There's rent to pay, utilities, phone bill, groceries, the occasional car repair that I didn't budget for, and then the small luxuries I tell myself I deserve, coffee, a book, something that isn't just survival. Those little things feel more like lifelines, but they come with guilt. Every dollar spent has to be justified. Every choice carries weight. The economic environment outside my small bubble only makes it harder. Prices keep climbing everywhere. The news talks about inflation, interest rates, and economic recovery, but it feels disconnected from my reality. The recovery seems to be for someone else, someone with more cushion, more options. For me, the reality is waking up and wondering if I'll have enough to cover everything without dipping into savings I'm trying desperately to build up, or worse, relying on credit cards that are already maxed out. There are days when I think about giving up on the dreams I had just a few years ago. I wanted to travel, to see new places, maybe even study more or start a side hustle. I wanted to buy a small apartment one day, Or at least move into a place that felt like home and not just a temporary shelter. But those dreams feel like luxury now, distant stars that flicker out every time I look too closely. Emotionally, it's a roller coaster. There's frustration, of course. Anger, sometimes, at the system that seems rigged. Sadness, for the lost opportunities and postponed plans. But there's also this quiet exhaustion, like I'm constantly fighting against an invisible current pulling me backward. It's isolating, too. I don't always talk about it with friends or family because I don't want to seem like I'm complaining or failing. Sometimes I think they don't really get it, or maybe I'm too embarrassed. Coping is its own challenge. I try to find small moments of joy, listening to music, going for walks, cooking a meal from scratch instead of ordering takeout. I remind myself of what I do have: a steady job, good health, a small but supportive circle of friends. Those things keep me grounded. I also journal sometimes, pouring out my fears and hopes onto the page so they don't stay trapped inside me. Writing helps me feel less alone. I'm learning to accept that this pressure isn't just about me, it's part of a bigger story many young people are living. The rising cost of living, stagnant wages, and precarious jobs are shaping our generation's path. But I also want to believe in the possibility of change, personal change and systemic change. Maybe one day I'll find a better job, or the economy will shift in a way that creates more opportunity. Maybe I'll find ways to make my money work harder for me instead of feeling like a constant drain. For now, I'm holding on to hope by setting small goals. Paying off one credit card. Saving $50 a month. Saying no to one unnecessary expense. These feel like tiny victories, but in this financial struggle, they mean a lot. I remind myself that even if the system feels overwhelming, I can still find ways to build a life that feels a little less trapped. I don't want to give up on my dreams. I just have to be patient and persistent, even when the path looks bleak. I'm learning that financial pressure is not just a number or a balance sheet, it's an emotional weight that colors every decision, every moment. But it's also a call to keep pushing, to keep hoping, and to keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. Maybe someday, I'll look back and see this time as a tough chapter one survived, not the whole story. Until then, I'm doing my best to breathe through the anxiety, plan for the future, and find small ways to live fully, even within these tight constraints. Because at the end of the day, that's all any of us can do. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.